All right, good morning, everyone. Good evening. Thanks for joining our second edition of this roundtable discussion we're trying to have here. This is something new at Seneca Global where we're trying to really take some of the insights from our greatest and brightest engineers over there in Hyderabad and elsewhere and understand the trends they're seeing in the tech landscape. But this one's pretty special because we recently, as an organization, co-hosted an event that seemed to have quite a bit of success. I'm talking about our Seneca Global HydPy Data Engineering Hackathon. Before we get into specifically what the goals of that hackathon, that event were, let's just do a quick round of introductions so that we can understand, what point of view we're getting regarding the hackathon here. So, Pratik, I'll start with you. Do you mind sharing a little bit about yourself and your background and how you came to this role within the hackathon?
I was speaking on mute. Sorry. Great introduction. So yeah, I have been with Seneca Global for almost 6 years now. That's how long the longest relationship I've had. This is Seneca Global. 6 year. It has been amazing 6 years here, and the way we got into this hackathon or conducting this event, we have already done events, at PyConf or Python conferences. Conf is at a small scale, but con is like a larger one. So we have had stalls and booths at both of these, and we got pretty good response. And we were talking to people, telling them this amazing work we are doing. So it was all talks, and then we decided that why not just transform it into more ideas and code actually and execution. So that's where this idea came about from, and we just did. There was this local, Python user community group in Hyderabad. They knew us. They already knew we are from Seneca Global. We work with Seneca Global. They knew our faces, but they did not know our names. But now it was at a point where we wanted everybody to know by our names as well. So we just decided that why not give it a try? And one thing led to another, and yeah, the hackathon event.
And Pratik, what was your role specific to the hackathon as an
I was more.
organizer or?
Mhm. I was more into like technical stuff, designing the problem statement. Rahul and I, we worked day and night just to form that the problem statement. It was a customized problem statement. We had to think about many things. We did not want it to make it too complicated, at the same time not very easy. So finding that sweet spot was something we really put ourselves into. We had to commit ourselves and spend long hours to just think about so many things in each and every direction. So more into technology, forming the data set as well that is going to be used, and a lot of other stuff.
But they were the ones who coordinated and managed
Mhm.
everything together. So,
The
so
planning as
like,
well, with
yeah,
the
the
help with
planning
the
as
help
well.
of a lot of the teams. The teams really helped a lot, and we had a separate planning community or department committee, I mean. And along with that, we were also involved on those stages as well, because I just wanted to personally, and obviously Rahul as well, we wanted to make sure each and everything is under control and we know exactly what we're doing. So along with technology, the planning was also, and strategy was also something we were involved into.
Actually, Rahul, could you give a quick intro about yourself as well and how you kind of uh, came to this role, how long you've worked with Pratik for, and how you came to your role within the hackathon?
Yeah, definitely, Zach. So I'm in Seneca Global like since 3 years, I guess now. So I've just completed 3 years like in the last June, basically. And if I talk about the hackathon perspective, like I was not initially, involved in the hackathon, but Kumar and all the team members were there in the initial discussions. But yeah, definitely. I jumped in after some few discussions with HydPy and other team members that we would need to design some kind of solution to accommodate the problem statement and stuff like that. So yeah, at a later point of time, and I think Pratik has already covered a lot of things that he already spoke about. Yeah.
Sure. So, and Jerry, we know who you are. If anyone's watching this part, Jerry's one of our principal architects, technology leaders, vice president of delivery, oversees a lot of these types of initiatives and also new clients. So I sped through your intro for you, Jerry.
That's good.
Um, but so with the hackathon, it was kind of a large event over in India, but here in the US, we kind of saw it from afar. So I'd like to understand, what was the inspiration behind it? What were the goals? I understand that we're always trying to source and to understand top level talent in India so that we can continue, bringing those members on board to our team so that we can bring good value to our clients, and also grow as an organization in terms of, new ideas, new thinking, new ways of thinking for certain technology areas. Obviously, this one's Python focused. So just wanted to ask you both, what were the goals and objectives of the hackathon itself as an event, and how did it kind of come together?
Yeah, I think I'll start here. So obviously, I mean, when you talk about software engineering in India or software industry in India in general, it's just like how you said it very well, sourcing, outsourcing stuff, and you expect people just working, delivering things. It's more like, services based. But we do have our like own, a lot of products going on as well. They have their own problems that they would like to, get solved, or, bring it out in front of the world just to showcase what kind of problems they're solving and all that. We in particular also have a lot of our problems and problem statements here at Seneca Global, but nothing that we could, let's say, with this hackathon, we could not bring that kind of problem statement here to ask people to solve. Our problems are very different kind of problems, right? The whole idea of conducting or doing this hackathon in general was with the type of technologies we are dealing with, the types of problem. We just wanted everybody to know, like, what we do. Like how I mentioned earlier, we spoke to a lot of people at these conferences. We told them about these are the kind of problems we are solving, and they were very curious. And it also sometimes bring an opportunity to collaborate with a lot of talented people and very good products in the market as well. They could have a lot of times they have very simple problems which they are just trying to solve it with very complex solutions, and they just overlook things, the simplest of the simplest things. And we just thought, why not do something, like this event, and just show to the world what kind of problems we solve at Seneca Global. In this specific case, it was the data engineering domain, the technology domain we chose, because we deal with a lot of data engineering, products. We do have a couple, and especially the ones that we work with, Rahul and I. We are solving a lot of data engineering problems. There are various ways of solving these problems. There are a lot of tools that exist already that could be, used. You just plug and play, you ingest data. It makes things a lot easier. But at the same time, the way we solve the problems are more optimized. It's very cost effective, and we go that programmatic way. Our approach is more. We are more into writing, very clean, so efficient, faster code with really good, time complexity and all that kind of stuff. We handle a lot of things. Jerry knows. I mean, Jerry can also jump in here and add other stuff, the kind of problems we solve here, Jerry.
So I was going to add, I mean, there are multiple thoughts behind conducting a hackathon. One of them was to reach out to the user community and figure out where the talent is. I mean, we were focusing on specifically on the data engineering aspect as well. And we were trying to use this as another springboard to get tightly connected with HydPy, the local Python
Yeah.
community. And that opens up a lot more opportunities. I mean, expands our sphere of influence. So that was the original idea. I mean, expand our sphere of influence, identify some good talent, and focusing on the data engineering aspect as well.
Yeah, for narrowing down on the data engineering, for us non-developers out there, you hear Python developer and you just think, oh, well, a Python developer is a Python developer. But I assume, knowing a little bit more, that there's some specialization in terms of skill set within, Python itself. So it makes sense that we would narrow down the scope of this hackathon to address a data engineering problem and not just product development writ large, right? Otherwise, this would have been a month-long event, I assume. So when it comes to data engineering, tell me a little bit about the problem statements you guys created, and specifically what we were trying to gather as far as insights about the participants, and why did our problem statements that we put out there highlight specific strengths or weaknesses of any given participant?
Very good question. So there will be parts and answers will be in parts here. So I'll let Rahul start and then I'll jump in. So Rahul, do you want to start or do you want me to take the head?
You can always take ahead.
Okay,
I
then
mean,
I'll
no
start it
worries.
and then Rahul will jump in the
Yep.
middle. Because so I'll divide how we when we were talking about designing this whole hackathon and then in specific this problem statement. So this was a very customized problem statement. This was not a problem statement that existed. This is something that we were forming. This never existed, right? So when you choose a customized, a problem, everything becomes very custom. Even the solution is going to be very customized. The data set has to be very customized. You're not going to, find things that are already there and you just connect dots here. Everything is starting from scratch. So we came up with a good problem statement. And then the data, biggest challenge, right? We did a lot of research on finding the best data that we could online. We went to Open NYC, data where they had all the taxi data, weather data, and all that. That already exists. We also had this thing in mind, and we had to keep this thing in mind: the availability of the AI tools, these AI agents, the LLM models, and how they are trained very well with everything that is possibly out there on the internet. So we did not want it to design something that, start the hackathon and people come, go, just put it as a prompt or give the whole problem statement to an LLM model. And it's like, 5 minutes hackathon done. But at the same time, we did not want it to develop something that is so difficult that people really lose their minds on like, what are you putting us through? So finding that sweet spot, as I mentioned earlier, again, it was very difficult. So how we started was that, I would do a part and Rahul would do a part. So I took all the data generation and all the data related, tasks and assigned it to myself. And Rahul was, he made his own evaluation framework, which was automated so that we did not have to go manually see, this is your code, this is your output. So what they would do when they submit, everything would be evaluated automatically. And there was a scoring system as well that would highlight what scores in what area they have, got. Their solution has achieved. And based on that, we will declare the winners. Obviously, there would be some manual review like code review and stuff, but we would also going to automate that with static code analyzer and stuff in the repositories where they were submitting their code. And this data generation in general, we did not, like I said, we did not get a data from the internet. The biggest challenge there was generating the data. Python, it gave me a tough time to generate because we were generating a large data set and it was taking too much time and there were so many changes. It was all relational data. I was generating bad data, but relational data. This bad data was supposed to have, the dependency with each other. There was a relation, we had about 5 data sets and they had relations among themselves, these files. And I did not want it to get it from the internet. And I wasn't even sure what kind of, because I don't know that data, right? I wanted my data to have anomalies and stuff. So we had to write code for that. Obviously, these LLM AI agents helped a lot. But at the same time, they were just not giving exactly what I want, no matter how much I refine it. So we had to jump in and I used a different technology. Instead of using Python, I used Go because, if Python was taking too long to generate that data I wanted and Go was able to do it quickly. So I also had to expand my expertise in other language and just understand, the working of it to make sure that everything that is generated is good. And then also, create my own solution, like design my own ETL pipeline. So make sure that I'm able to solve the problem that I'm creating, right? And since that was done, it took quite some time to do that as well. There were a couple of sleepless nights, and after that, it was the evaluation framework that led us to. Rahul, I'll hand it over to you to explain about the evaluation framework.
Really quickly.
Yes.
Just one moment. What you say about Python, as a tool not being able to accomplish everything you wanted it to for
Right.
this use case. I think that speaks to something we see a little bit more broadly across our client engagements, is that there's no one tool fits all, right?
Exactly.
Exactly.
And a well-rounded developer needs to be able to identify that and not
Very
try
true.
and shove a square peg through a round hole, right? And instead pivot. And if that requires someone with expertise, you were under a time crunch and you needed to learn something fresh yourself. But if the need is robust enough, that may warrant a team adjustment or an upskill or an additional team member with that skill set in mind. So, that's nothing new from a larger development landscape perspective. But it's interesting to see that it happened kind of in this microcosm of the hackathon. Rahul, yeah, speak a little bit about the evaluation framework, and then I'm eager to get to what we saw from the participation and it's kind of the results we saw.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Kumar. I think Kumar has already mentioned a lot of things like where we came from and about the evaluation framework, like what it did. But to get more information about it, like basically the evaluation framework consists of taking the participants' code and evaluating it to get the scores from like what we get from the participant, basically. So when participant pushes their final output into our API, we just evaluate the score and just show the score on the real-time dashboard. So it was all automated. What we have designed from scratch, like it's kind of a product that we designed from scratch for evaluating everything. uh, the real-time dashboard also shows the submissions, right? Like for example, like I'm a participant and I want to just submit my code. I have only 5 submissions, for example. It was restricted by us, and since the submission was coming from a team, so we had to give each team a API key, so that we can just recognize like from where the submission is coming from. And the scoring system is all about like we divided the scoring system into multiple parts. So one of the part was data quality metrics, like how many anomalies they could find, what are the invalid data points they could find, what are the counts of them, and all those stuff like that. And the second part was the business metrics. In business metrics, we got the output in terms of like uh, how many top 5 customers are there, how many top 5 carriers are there for our problem statement that we have designed, customized problem statement, right? And the third part was a unique thing. Basically, it was a name matching problem introduced, especially to introduce a complexity in our particular problem statement. And it was the scoring was on top of all these 3 things, and everything was real time, including the memory consumption that the participant has done and the average CPU counts and all those stuff like that.
Gotcha. Sounds like we had a pretty robust framework for the participation in this. I'm curious how people did with it. Do we have a fair turnout of participants, and were we surprised by any of the skills that we saw? Were your expectations exceeded, or did some of the participants, have a little shortfall? Did you maybe make too
Yeah.
difficult of a problem statement? What was the response level like? How did you feel about those the highest performers and their approaches?
Oh yeah. So what happened was like since the evaluation framework was in place, so people like the participants were not able to actually understand how we need to push the things to the evaluation statement. So some of the teams could not push properly. So we need to assist them like how to do that and all those stuff. But by the time we could do all these things, like the hackathon was coming to an end. So we could take some of the actually the submissions. Not all the teams were able to do that, but yeah, definitely we evaluated on basis of like what they have already done. So we you prioritize the teams which have done the submission and all this stuff. Yes, Pratik, you were just raising your hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that we exactly hit the right spot, Zach. So it wasn't really too difficult for people to solve. At the same
Yeah.
time, it wasn't easy. We had planned it for the whole 6 hours, and it took people the whole 6 hours to solve it. And the trickiest part was the data validation thing, because since I was the in charge of the forming the data set, right? So I had solved it because I wanted to make sure my data is good. And intentionally the metrics we were fetching out, when I saw what a complexity I could introduce, and mostly you could do it on a logical terms, and that is in the transformation phase. It's an ETL pipeline, right? So the validation, getting the right data, just the right data that we need to form these metrics, was somewhere people was just logically stuck with. Not only stuck, they were making mistakes, and that was supposed to be like that. That's how we had planned it. So that went well. That went well. So we exactly
Yeah.
hit the spot we wanted to.
So the
So
interesting thing is,
go ahead, Jerry. please.
I was just going to add a small interesting fact. When they started the hackathon and they announced the problem statement, the participants felt that it is an easy problem to solve because
Yes,
Exactly.
it's in an hour.
exactly.
But
Yeah,
it actually took much more longer for them
longer
to
time.
actually solve it. So the problem statement itself seemed very simple, but we had to consider a lot of different aspects. So when you're looking for a data engineer or you want to figure out data engineer qualities, you're looking for people who have the knowledge of how to do data cleansing, how to do data validation, how to ensure that your data is transformed accurately, and performance also plays a big factor. So performance in the sense that you have memory crunch or limited CPU cycles available to you, and you have to process a large volume of data. So the problem statement considered all of these factors while we were building it out, right?
Yeah,
And to solve it, it's not just about, okay, get some data, ingest it, and put it into a pipeline, and you're solving it. So that's how people initially considered that particular problem statement. But as they went into it, they realized that they were struggling at data validation and data correction, or extracting the right kind of data. So that's what Pratik and Rahul are saying, that it seemed a simple problem, but
yeah,
when you actually go ahead and implement it, it becomes challenging.
It's interesting. Did any of the participants knock it out of the park? You know, exceed your expectations? You know, do it in record time with, minimal burn on the system, or was everyone just struggling to,
I, I
get a
wish
passing grade?
somebody had.
Yeah.
I
yeah,
wish somebody had, but that did not really happen. We were not expecting that. That was
yeah.
unexpected. That did not happen. And we felt at the end, was it really that difficult? Because it wasn't. That's what I think. But at the same time, they were able to form the data engineering structure, right? They were stuck with more of a logical stuff. Like I said earlier, the data validation, the transformation part, they were stuck with just cleansing the data properly. So they were not able to form the right business insight that we had asked them to, form out of that data set. That's where they were going wrong. But apart from that, technically, yeah, people were there, but yeah, they couldn't just fetch the right output.
So usually the challenge
Gonna
with
take
these kind
time.
of problems is that there is a business problem and then there is a technology problem. The
Right.
technology
Yeah,
problem was quite easy, I guess. I mean, people were able to come up with a pipeline and do the stuff. But when they got into the business problem of understanding the data, validating the data, cleansing the data, transforming the data as per the requirements, that's where it becomes a little bit more iterative process. They figure, so they try something out, it didn't work, and then they try something else, and it didn't work. It takes a lot more time to get to the point where the business problem is solved. I guess, Pratik and Rahul can probably talk about it. The problem statement, the way the solution was expected to be structured was, there is a limited CPU
Memory,
and memory, which
CPU.
means
yes,
it was a Dockerized container for deploying the application. There were some people who were not even
Exactly.
familiar with Docker.
yeah, yeah,
But
Yes.
a lot
So
of
we're
people
surprised.
were. So yeah, so it was interesting. I mean, some people had to learn Docker, how to use a Docker
We
during the
help them.
hackathon,
during the hackathon.
and get it done. And the other part of it is when you're I mean, you also have an integration piece, because the evaluation framework was a custom built API platform where it receives the responses from the candidates, from the hackathon participants, and calculates the value. So if you don't integrate properly, you can end up sending the wrong information, and then the output would be wrong, and then the calculated results would be wrong. So it involves a lot of different factors, or the different parts of engineering and implementation. So we were looking at a holistic quality, right? I mean, it's not just about writing Python code. I mean, anybody can write Python code, but understanding the problem statement, fitting it into the solution, and then making sure to use the ecosystem in the right way. Those are the challenges that they were evaluated on.
Yeah.
Just a few
Uh,
a few final questions here. Sorry, Rahul, to cut you off, but I just want to, do we think? Well, first of all, do we think we imparted some knowledge on our methodologies that, might be valuable for the participants long term outside of just the hackathon? Do you think it would be a success from their standpoint of a learning experience? Or do we have the opportunity to kind of share our way of thinking, kind of Jerry, what you're alluding to be a little bit more proactive on the business side of things rather than, just a purely technical solve. This is the modern landscape of software development involves a little bit more dynamic thinking when it comes to, being a key contributor on a team. You want to understand the business use case and solve on your feet. So do we think we imparted anything from our side, or were we mostly just gathering information?
So I just want to say that hey, look at the LinkedIn, okay? If I mean, just check out LinkedIn. Just type SenecaGlobal, you would know that. You'd get your answer. Okay, people were very happy that they got to learn so much from here. Usually, in the market, if you go any type of product, the problems they're solving, they have too many tools, big tools, very heavy lifting they're doing. Even for the smallest of the problems, they're using these really, heavyweight tools. You don't really need that. In most of the cases, actually, you don't. You could solve that problem a lot cheaper, more efficiently and programmatically. Hire the right engineers. And then people, to surprise a lot of people that day, they just came up with a lot of solutions where they just wanted to use this tool, that tool. I said, no, write your code. We're all Pythonistas, as I call it. We're Python developers. Show your Python skills. Try to solve this problem with Python. You can use any type of frameworks you want. Technology is in your hand, but yeah, it has to be Python. So definitely, I mean, like I said, LinkedIn, it will tell you what we important or not.
It's an interesting insight that there may be an over reliance on tools, that
right.
you don't want to get rusty and forget that, you don't need a license for everything. You can use, pure brain power to accomplish a lot of tasks.
Yeah.
Do we
And
think
I
this
think
is our
the
last
feedback was
hackathon,
pretty
guys? Sorry, go ahead, Jerry. Finish
I
your
was
thought.
saying the feedback was very good. I mean, even from the partners like the HydPy, so they
Oh
really
yeah.
liked the framework that Rahul, Prateek, and team had set up, and the way that they were just showing the leaderboard on the screen. So people enjoyed it. I mean, there was a lot of fun. People sat down, got in the zone. They were working in a focused mode. There was some plan to have a quiz in between, but because of the way that people were focused and seriously working on the problem statement, they could not do the quiz. And but it was really interesting, and I think there was a lot of goodwill, camaraderie, and
Oh yes.
interesting discussions that happened post the hackathon completion.
Oh, that's great. So do we think this is our last hackathon, or we think we'll do another one of these? What do we think?
Oh, we already have a lot of people thinking about, oh, let's do a
What's next? People are reaching out already. What's next?
Different
Well, good.
technology.
Well, good.
So
Then it sounds like you guys did a good job, contributing. And, I didn't mention this at the top, but, obviously you two are not the only organizers here. You were more
yeah,
focused on the technical
Exactly.
side. We'll have a separate conversation probably with Dr. Anupama Pardu and, understand the personnel implications of the hackathon. But thanks for helping put this together, guys. It sounds like you did a great job in terms of putting a framework in place that people could be challenged while also facilitate, and show their skill set. So I'll be curious to see, what comes from the next one. Absolutely. So thank you for your efforts on that.
Hey, thank you so much for the shout out. And it was amazing. And we really love what we, do. And this is one of the things at SenecaGlobal. There is this policy we call the first time right. So, it speaks for itself in everything.
Absolutely. So one last question. If you guys were going head to head against each other, who would have done better if you were given the problem statement?
Hey, we would only find that out if we only do it.
All right. We'll do a head to head sometime soon, and we'll see who comes out on top.
Absolutely.
Python fight to the death.
Yes.
Very good. All right. Unless you guys have any other insights to share, I think I'll let you go. But this was a great conversation. Thanks again for putting it together.
I just only want to say one thing. You asked us to wear this, Indian attire. So I don't know if you have noticed it or not.
Oh, there you go.
I have it.
You look
Just for
formal.
this.
You look good.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I love it. All right, gentlemen. You have a great rest of your evening. Take care, and we'll talk soon. Bye now.
Thanks, Zach.
Bye bye.
Thanks.